Thank you, Chair, and thank you, PCS, for, I know this is a very complex issue because it goes beyond Kenya. Bwana PCS, I want to confirm is my neighbor. So, Mom is my neighbor. We border each other. He comes from Vihiga and I come from Nandi. And of course, he has a number of many relatives in Nandi. Bwana PCS, a communique by the European Union Parliament on 12 March 2026, and you will give me indulgence because I want to ask a number of questions so that you can answer. A communique by the European Parliament of 12 March 2026, since you have highlighted your visit to Russia and your engagement with the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Russia, the report that was in European Parliament indicated that Russia was using deceptive recruitment tactics and coercion to recruit thousands of foreign nationals from different African states, and was also recruiting individuals from Cuba and South and Central Asia to sustain its brutal, unprovoked, and justifiable illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. This is on the answer of European Parliament on 12 March 2026 that was tabled. My concern when you engage with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, did at any point that the Russian government as a government participate in recruitment of men and women who will be taken to fight the Russia-Ukraine war or any other war in that region? Because if a parliament of that magnitude has come up with information that the Russian government is, I know, discussing a friendly nation, but can you give a comment on that? Number two is you have said 1,000 Kenyans are living in Russia and you interacted with some of them. But my only concern is that 750. So even if you have to add 250, they are still, it becomes 1,002. So how many Kenyans are really in Russia? That will be my number two questions. Number three, Waziri, you have said in your statement that there are 3 Kenyans who have died. But Waziri, in media and many other forums, because we are the people representatives, we normally see even Kenyans burying banana leaves, doing mock burials. How many has it been reported? Since you have indicated you have a coordinated engagement between your ministry and other agencies, including the Ministry of Interior, Diaspora Affairs, and of course your Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So what is the number of Kenyans that have died? Because you have indicated they had 3. And on this issue of reported missing Kenyans, as a ministry, as of today here in Nairobi, do you have a distress call center for families who have reported missing kin in Russia? Because we see most of them addressing media as if media is a distress call center. Do you, can I work to Ministry of Foreign Affairs and courtesy your office, you can say these are a number of Kenyans that have been reported missing in Russian war, and how many are they? Chair, number 3, are there Kenyans fighting in Ukraine apart from Russia? That will be number 3. Number 4, which I agree with you, is in 2023 there was a repatriation policy. And in that policy, Waziri, there was supposed to be an established fund called Kenya Migrant Workers 2020 Migrants Fund that was supposed, of course, you have talked about mutual legal assistance, you have talked about funding, you have talked about evacuation plan, you have talked about sanctuary centers and distress call. You have only indicated that you need resources from Parliament. Yesterday evening, the National Assembly passed supplementary budget. How much do you need? You need to give us numbers. You know, other things can lie, but numbers don't lie. So how much do you need? Not only for Russia issue, we have seen Middle East issue. You have talked even about cyber or internet slaves in Cambodia and other Laos and other region. And you have to know, just for your information, that Cambodia gets illegal 16 billion US dollars over this coming online, where it involves even issues of online sexual exploitation of children. So how much do you need? Because I know after Russia, I'm happy you have noted that the issue of Middle East, you have given us an advance attention of your ministry, which you are proactive, and we are very grateful, because we don't know how that war will escalate to which level. Because you know, Donald Trump says this thing today, the following day is other things. So in this Kenya migrant workers, this fund that was established in 2023, how much has it been allocated, and how much, for example, Waziri, you have to appreciate that we just concluded parliamentary budget policy statement. Is there a specific amount? And I saw you addressing National Assembly yesterday during question time. How much, so that Kenyans can know that either you are underfunded or you don't have enough resources to address those challenges. The fifth question, Waziri, is there a signed agreement when you went to Russia, between Kenya and Russia, on non-recruitment of Kenyans, or was it a gentleman's agreement? Is there, or are you able to engage with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and there is a document that says this is referral, or maybe, you know, in diplomatic circles and what have you, what was the final outcome? Is there pen and paper that were put to ensure that the issue of immigration is once and well sorted? Finally, on the issue of foreign fake recruitment agencies, and I'm happy you have noted there are 600. We have been having a lot of war with National Employment Authority. They argue that if you want to know if they're active, you go to online. Now, the government has come up with a good proposal of Kazi Maju through bilateral labor agreements, which is in place. But you still find Kenyans being duped. I don't think, are Kenyans easy to dupe, or is it the frustrations of economic constraints? Is it the attractiveness? Because I have seen you have indicated that the lies they are being told is they'll get 2.5 million or plus per salary per month or bonuses. These 600 you have said they have been registered. Is it published anywhere? And is there a way, because you work with colleagues in the cabinet, that these individuals do not change their faces and come up with other recruitment agencies like the one you have arrested? And I'm happy and I want to congratulate you for that proactiveness in terms of ensuring these people who are duping Kenyans to go to Russia. What are you doing as a cabinet, and more so you are chief of cabinet ministers? What strategies you are put in place? Because there is also a time bomb. Your peers will tell you and the media will tell you every week there are at least a number of Kenyans who have been duped. I saw even a story in Kisii where somebody was being lied he will be taken to Middle East, but the plane ended landing in Tripoli, Libya, and they cannot go to Middle East, they cannot come to Kenya. So let me be very specific. You know, we have an IS, and there is a vetting process before an agency is given opportunity to recruit. What are you doing to ensure that NIS, National Intelligence Service, and even National Security Council are aware that there are people who are taking advantage of Kenyans, whether through corruption in National Employment Authority, whether in Ministry of Labor? What are you doing now? You are better because you are the correct person, because you are the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and I hope in future chair will change it to Prime Minister so that he has executive powers. But what are you putting in place so that your Minister of Interior, yourself of Foreign Affairs, somebody of Labor, is there coordination to ensure that by the time I'm given to be a recruiting agency of migrant workers, or the BLS, or the migrant Maju process, by the time I'm given the certificate to recruit in this country, I must be beyond reproach like the Caesar's wife, or beyond suspicion. So what are you doing to ensure the vetting process is so thorough Because as parliament, Waziri, we are tired every time. Now we'll finish Russia. Next week, you might hear another one from Middle East, kidogo from Cambodia, kidogo from another region, from Uganda, from other places. So what safeguards have you put? By the time somebody is told, recruit, what are you going to do? And finally, Chair, since the PS of Diaspora Affairs is here, and Waziri, you know, since Diaspora now stopped being a directorate, I think now is a department, there are many Kenyans who still, I'm happy you have issued the issue of travel emergency documents. You and me know that, and she knows that, and I think Senator Dulo was on the floor of the house. I think we have gone to Dubai and Middle East, where girls go there, they get children because of the legal nature of those Middle East and Emiratis. They are not allowed to be given birth certificates. So what is the Diaspora Affairs Department doing? Because those children cannot travel, Waziri. They are born, they are also human beings. Under Article 53 of the Constitution, the interest of children must be protected by the Kenyan Constitution. So what is this Diaspora Affairs doing? And in partnership, I know UAE and other countries in Middle East have worked closely with Kenyans to ensure that Kenyans access, and even the issue of replacement of passports, the issue of, I've seen the ministry is issuing new generation of IDs, the issue of distress to address Kenyans who are either facing issues of legal challenges, especially sometimes, Waziri, I know it's hard to give mutual assistance to people who are maybe arrested for drug trafficking. But these are international and organized crimes that your office of the Attorney General and Solicitor can assist to ensure, you know, we need to behave like Americans. Even if you are accused of drug trafficking in China, you demand chair will be my clarification.
Thank you, Cherargei. A Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think maybe he had clear his first. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get the assistance. but also I have no proof. Because on the Russian side, our embassy sent out details even on the website. And how we got to know some of these individuals is that their family members now started sending messages, because the ones in the combat field, it's very difficult for them to communicate. But we started learning through their families from the initiative of the embassy. In terms of the resource package, we had put in a requisition for an additional 400 million in the event, particularly in the event that the Middle East crisis exerts extreme pressure, because then it might call for a more aggressive approach to try and assist Kenyans. So we had made this proposition to Parliament as to whether it will be granted. We'll wait to see through. But going forward, clearly with the global dynamics, these are issues that we are now talking with Treasury and also talking with Parliament to try and relook at the budgetary provision for the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs. On the issue of the agreements, Honorable Madam Chair, I wish to emphasize that these Kenyans signed these contracts. And in our conversation with the Russian authorities, they said that these were contracts which in their law are seen as valid by these Kenyans. And the best they could do under the circumstances is to really stop further enlistment. And we requested that we would also be happy that we work towards disengagement of the Kenyans who are already in the loop. But that has contractual obligations. And ironically, in the information we are getting is that for some countries, some of the people there were refusing to disengage. Not for Kenya necessarily, but for some other countries. The ones who are there, they say they would rather remain there. So it's a paradox that sometimes we can't understand, where people are in a very difficult situation, but they don't want to exit, they want to continue being part of it. So I think because there are so many issues, I'll ask Madam Jogu to also intervene and pick up from where I may have omitted some things.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Cabinet Secretary. Just to answer some of the questions, Honorable Senator, indeed there is a 24-hour call center, as our Cabinet Secretary had indicated, and it is manned around the clock. We also do offer a service for walk-in Kenyans within our premises at Old Mutual UAP Tower. That's where our call center and our welfare department is stationed, and that's not just for the Russia crisis, but for every Kenyan with family or kin abroad who want to come and get services. Let me also say that the fund you referenced, Honorable Senator, is envisioned and created within the Labor Migration Management Bill that is currently still in draft form. So that is where that sits. To confirm that indeed the information on agencies that are not in good standing is also available on the NEA website, the National Employment Authority website. And to clarify that the vetting process for agencies that you described, the vetting.
Maybe, Chair, on a point of order. So, PS, you are saying there is no policy in place. So it is a proposal in the bill. I thought there is a policy. The policy on issues of repatriation and assistance to Kenya that was passed in 2023. I thought it's there.
You referenced a fund,
Which originated
fund.
from the policy. I know there is a management bill, but originated from the policy.
Yes, so the fund is a creature of the Act, which is not yet in place.
But Waziri, I thought it started from the cabinet through the chair. The policy on trying to address the issue of repatriation, where this Kenya Migrant Workers Fund was established in 2023. So there is no policy.
The law has not yet come into place.
Yes.
The policy was cleared, but it's the bill where we anchor the fund.
So
that has not been cleared by Parliament.
So with your indulgence, so you use the ministry's budget. There is no specific fund that when you came even before the parliamentary policy, you requested as part of the fourth heads of the ministry.
No, there's no dedicated fund for this undertaking because there was no budget line about just repatriation, right? So in order to be neat, the idea was to make sure that such a fund should be anchored in the law. And that is how it can then be funded, audited, and so forth. So we wanted to make sure that this comes. And this proposal is now embedded in the labor mobility management bill, which is going to come to the House. Yeah.
Is it already in the House?
There's a private members motion, bill, which is before the House on aspects of labor migration. Okay, there's a private.
Yes, I've seen it.
You've seen that.
Yes.
But over and above that, the government has been working on one, so we are hoping we can have some convergence.
But Chair, my advice is I hope you should agree, because I think Senator Mutinda, you need to agree early, because we have seen cases where there is a private member's bill and government. Is it possible to agree early, because you and me, this is a very critical bill. And in fact, my advice, move through the majority leader so that it's given a priority and we can pass as soon as possible.
Thank you. I think I'm happy to hear this supportive angle, yes, because we have actually been pushing to see if we can have that convergence through the majority leader and also with the Ministry of Labor so that we don't have multiple, if we can harmonize. And also with the age.
And Chair, as we go for recess, please, because I think it's almost going to third reading amendment.
Yeah.
So please, kindly, if it is possible, Waziri, try and make it as.
I have even penned off a letter to my colleague in the Ministry of Labor because they were driving this particular piece of legislation to work closely with the AG's office and the private member.
You are done? I was going to speak to the issue of the Kenyans in the Middle East around the issue of birth certificates.
Yes.
To confirm that over the last few years, we have expanded first our diplomatic footprint in that area. We now have a consulate in Jeddah, which is one of the places where we have a large number of Kenyans, and that is extending services, including offering birth certificates for children who are born in that area and in other parts of Saudi Arabia. We have also done a DNA project in 2023 that was meant to capture the DNA of mothers or fathers and children to support documentation that then would allow us to issue birth certificates, and that was done. We continue to engage in that region. We've rolled out several times now mobile consular services. That is when we offer services across the country without necessarily expecting our diaspora in that region to come to the embassy, but we have offered the services in a mobile way where we do that. To also indicate that we continue to engage that region with much of our resources, but also much of our attention. I agree with you, Senator, that indeed the Constitution is very clear and the rest of our law is very clear about children's rights, and this is something that we take very, 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 very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, PS.
Chair, sorry, my indulgence. PS, you know Kenyans love numbers. So how this birth certificate, since you started in 2023, if it is not too much trouble to us, which numbers are we looking for projection? If you don't have, then you can request the chair to table, because it has become a very hot issue, especially when you go to Mombasa, where majority of workers, in fact, that matter has come to the Senate for since the last session multiple times. So can you give us the numbers, or you might request the chair to give further evidence or those information later? Thank you, Chair.
Just a clarification, you want numbers of
those children that you are likely to process certificates, because I know you love to work with Ministry of Citizen Services or Ministry of Interior.
Yes.
So what numbers are we looking at?
Is the question how many children are born to Kenyans in the Middle East?
No, how many are you likely to
less.
issue? Yes, to issue with birth certificates.
Okay, so we would have to come back to you with those numbers, because it's a service that's offered on request, on need basis. We have to wait for
So how
people to
many
come in.
requests do you have? Maybe you are processed as a ministry.
We would have to go back and get those numbers. So the numbers I can speak to is from the DNA
Yes,
project
yes.
of 2023.
Yes.
We did about 707 DNA samples.
Okay.
And out of that, we issued birth certificates of, I want to say, about 116 or 117 children. And those certificates are sent to our embassy in Riyadh. And families or the parents were informed to come and collect those birth certificates. And every single person was reached to come and collect those birth certificates. We had a number who came and collected them, and we have a number that are still resting at the embassy because the parents have declined to come and collect those.
So you are appealing to them to come and pick it.
We have appealed in all ways. We have appealed to them through phone calls, through messages, through diaspora representatives to come and collect them. And this is a service that is free of charge. They really do need to come and collect
Okay, wow.
those. We've also worked with the Saudi government to help in repatriating a number of those children whose birth certificates then came out.
Thank you, because Chair, you appreciate that issue has come to Senate multiple times. So at least we have an answer to the public that at least the process is there, that a number of certificates have been issued, and I'm happy it is free of charge. Kenyans in that area can go and pick their certificate. Chair, I yield back the mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Lelegwe.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure whether this question was touched by the many questions from Senator Cherargei, but recently the ministry undertook a diplomatic visit on the matter to Russia. Chair, my question is, what was the outcome of the diplomatic engagement undertaken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Affairs, with the government of the Federation of Russia concerning the reported deceptive recruitment of Kenyan youth, and what specific measures, undertakings, or commitments were secured from the Russian authorities regarding the protection, legal status, welfare, repatriation of affected Kenyan nationals? The Prime Cabinet Secretary just informed us that repatriation is ongoing for the 47 Kenyans. We are not sure the status, whether they are here or they are still in Russia, and the ministry is still engaging with the Russian authorities